Hi, mystery writers. It's our weekly get together, and today I want to talk about supporting characters. And I know you've heard me say this before that mystery readers come for the plot and stay for the characters, and it's not just your mystery detective or sleuth, it's all the other characters that are there. They bring your story to life. So today let's take a look at those supporting characters and what they to your add to your story. In a mystery, your characters provide conflict for the detective. And their role in the story is to confound, confuse, lie, and make trouble for your protagonist. Um, so all those suspects do. And whatever supporting roles you have, we'll talk about story roles in a minute, like a mentor or sidekick or love interest, they're still providing conflict for your main character. All right? Those supporting characters enhance the story context and they color how your mystery story is revealed. So I can't stress enough the importance of having a character Bible. It's the place where you keep all the details for every character in your story. And that is from your main protagonist, detective, to the smallest, I call them walk-on parts, the bus boy at a restaurant or whoever. Every character in your story needs to be in that character Bible. So it doesn't matter how you construct your character Bible, if it can be handwritten sheets in a binder or a character development section of a writing software program like Scrivener or character notes in Microsoft Word or Google Docs. It really doesn't matter. You just want to have all those characters together in one place. And the important action is to keep track of all the details for each character so they don't change hair color or personality or eye color halfway through the story because you forgot it. If you have multiple characters in your story and somebody doesn't come back on scene for 50 or 100 pages, it's easy for you as the writer to forget their details. So keep those details in your character Bible, listing each character, and you won't have any trouble keeping all those character details straight. Each character has their own individual page or pages, and for important characters, it's multiple pages, like backstory. Some authors do character interviews with their characters. However much work you want to put into the character Bible, the main point of that Bible is to have every character in there so you don't lose track. All right. So, what do you need to know about your characters? I mean, you could get lost doing all this when you really want to get to your story. And it's certainly important to do a lot of work ahead of time to um, to get your characters straight and really flesh them out so it's easy for you to visualize them, imagine them in any situation. Um, the most important thing for your character, the most important aspect, is how they move the story. Remember, every scene moves the story forward, and it's really those characters' jobs to help move that story forward. Um, Writer-director Adam Skelter calls it the context of that character. So you want to define the story situation the character deals with in the story and know that character's personal conflict. For mystery writers, the context is how a character impacts the detective's attempt to solve the mystery. That's simple. Um, Details like height and hair color and carriage are icing on the cake, and they help bring those characters to life because readers love details because they heighten the presence of the character and make them real. But if you change the character's hair color, and you can, it won't impact their influence on your detective. So that is their main essence. What is their context in the story? So if you're setting up a set of details that you want for each character, like hair color and height and who their mom was, or whatever details you want to put in for your character, put context first. How is it that that character impacts the detective's attempt to solve the mystery? That's the main thing you want to know about each character in your story. So to do that, you need to know each character's intention, and that's why their secrets and lies are important in your mystery. The lies they tell lead your detective on false paths or on a trail of discovery. And these lies create conflict because they're lies, you know? Uh, and a story is not a story without conflict. So this is how your characters can help move that story forward. They're creating conflict. They're creating challenges for your detective. And the more frustrations and problems you create for your detective, the more she'll have a difficult time solving that puzzle because you've got a long way to go, hundreds of pages to get your reader toward the end. Um, so one of the beefs I have with most character creation guides and tools and, setups and all of those things is they start with the physical details. And while these help bring your character to life, they don't really fit them in your story. Um, I actually think those physical details start beginning writers backwards. All right. The first thing you need to know about each character is how they work in the story. If you know that, you're going to avoid some beginning writer mistakes like having too many characters when you can combine two or maybe even three characters into one because their functions are all the same. Um, so knowing the prime aspect of your character, their context, will prevent you from having too many characters or going off story by emphasizing a minor character because they're intriguing or fun to write about. So you're always keeping that context in mind. Why is this character here in this story? And so just as each scene must move the story forward, each character must impact the detective in her search to discover that murderer. And once you know the character's role in the story, then you can build their background. So start with the context. Think about their intention, that character's intention or goal. Why are they there? What do they want? All right. Then you can get down to their physical details that help bring the character to life for your reader. And especially for your suspects, you want to know any secrets and the lies they use to cover up those secrets. Um, So you can create those conflicts for your detective. For major characters, the more important characters, you may want to include some kind of emotional wound. Um, and even for you in the character Bible, backstory about that wound. You may or may not share that backstory in the story itself, but you may want to know it so you have a clearer vision of why that character is wounded and how that wound impacts their action, which eventually results in their impacting your detective's quest to find the killer. All right. And of course, you want to know details about their relationship with other characters. So, especially if they're a suspect, do they know the other suspects? Do they interact with the other suspects? Or are they off in their own world? Um, and of course, it helps to know likes and dislikes. What kind of food they like, what were their feelings about culture, any of those things. So, of course, how can I say this? You want to create a hierarchy of character importance. So, that busboy that I mentioned earlier, we probably don't need an emotional wound and a backstory for that character because they walk on and they disappear and that's it. That's it in the story. But for the major supporting characters, you want to create a hierarchy so you make sure that the time you spend developing those character details and backgrounds um, goes into the more important characters. So let's take a look at who those could be, those important characters. There's the sidekick or partner, if your detective has one, and the same for a mentor. All the suspects, every single suspect in your story, you want to have a really good understanding of their personality, how they related to the victim, and what their personal goals are and their secrets and lies. You want to spend a lot of time on the suspects. Um, and then if your detective has a personal opponent, you want to spend some time on those, especially if you plan on making your story, um, if you plan on creating a series, that opponent can cause trouble in every story. So you want to know some details about that opponent and their motivations for causing trouble for your detective. And just remember, the opponent is not the villain, not the perpetrator, not the murderer. The opponent is just someone who has it in for your detective character for some other reason and they pop up and cause trouble. And of course, you want to know about the villain, the perpetrator. What is their motivation? What is it that triggered them um, to kill the victim? What their relationship was with the victim, and what their relationship um, is with the other suspects. All right. And of course, I've mentioned this before. You really want to have character background for your victim because your victim is the key. The victim is the one who started this whole thing going. For some reason, somebody was felt so strongly about this victim, something that the victim did, that the victim became a victim. All right. So that's kind of your hierarchy for the important supporting characters. And you want to limit your time on minor characters who appear once or twice. Um, a simple trick for those minor characters is to give them an identifying characteristic, a limp, a rasping voice, extra rosy cheeks, just one thing that kind of triggers in your reader. Oh, yeah, I remember them. Um, so your reader remembers them 80 or 100 pages later. And this is the one time when physical details work as a memory aid for your readers on those minor characters. So, hope that helps. The play's the thing. You want to tell that story. Shakespeare is a great guideline for us all. When you decide each character's place in the context of your story and build on their story importance, you'll create characters that influence the story and keep readers engaged. Okay, thanks. I hope that helps. I feel it's really important to know your character's context. What is their role in the story? What is their role? How do they influence or impact your sleuth's journey to the truth? That's their role. Okay, thanks. Keep writing.